Welcome, everybody. It's Wednesday, I think. Is it Wednesday? Yeah, because yesterday was Taco Tuesday. So we've got a show today, and I'm excited because, for one, breaking news. I just saw this. The rapper Akon was just arrested in Chamblee, Georgia, on a warrant from Roswell. Rappers getting arrested. You know, when I first moved down here, I don't know if probably a lot of you aren't familiar with rappers, but I am. I watched Gucci Mane get arrested like 2 blocks from where I work or where I used to work. And I was like, man, that looks like Gucci. Why is he walking around with a gun drunk on the sidewalk? The cab cops swooped in and nabbed him up. But Akon, like Chamblee, what's up, G bro? But Chamblee is, they have like a little airport there, a private airport that we used to fly in all the time. It's a really nice place, Chamblee is, but apparently rappers get arrested there. But if you like my show, like, subscribe, and ding the bell. And this episode is brought to you by Gatsby. Whoops, wrong person. Holy smokes. Let me fix it. That's for later. That's for later. I got so many things we're going to pop up here today. Gatsby Trading Solutions. There we go. Technical difficulties. I need to fire my production team. Wait, that's me. But Gatsby Trading Solutions. We're doing big things. I was doing big things today. That's what we do. Big things. And also, still, we're bringing Gary Michaels anywhere, any event, wherever. He's a homegrown Kentucky native from the Paris, Kentucky, where Myron Thomas will no longer be the police chief after January 1st. Hallelujah. Mission accomplished. But Gary Michaels, he's got a big tour. We're booking events all over the United States with Russ Nagel, Phil Donlin. It's these guys are hilarious. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen their work, Gary's on a cruise ship right now. I think he comes back this weekend. I'm going to have to get a hold of him to find out and make sure. But we are getting ready to book for the comedy venue in Savannah, Georgia. So we're excited about that. Savannah's a beautiful city. If any of you have never been there, please go to visit. If you ever come to Georgia, visit Savannah. Their historic district is phenomenal. I highly recommend if you like, tourist sites and stuff like that. I literally could just park in the parking garage in Savannah and just walk around all day long. There's so much stuff to see that's cool. And it's got that old, like kind of like a New Orleans, like creepy vibe to it. It's pretty cool. It's a cool town, but we're going to be there here pretty soon as we get the date booked. But they are working on that right now. Actually, they're working on it with me. So I'll let everybody know. Gary Michaels. I love him. He's a great dude. When he gets back, I'm going to go visit him. And we'll make some content for YouTube or for TikTok. Probably YouTube too. So let's get into our statistics this week. So gas prices are still hovering around 307. They've gone up here. For those of you who don't really pay attention to my show all that much, or you're tuning in for the first time, Locust Grove, Georgia, where I'm based at, is all through up I-75 from here to my hometown in Ohio, right off of I-75 by Lima. We have in Locust Grove the cheapest gas at every gas station for like 4 states. But we're up to, it was 267 here today. We got down as low as like 241, and now we're jumping up again. So hopefully by the weekend it'll go back down. I have to travel into Atlanta tomorrow, so I'm hoping the gas will be down by tomorrow morning when I get out of the gym. But we'll see. I know I got to watch my phone because my dad will fact check me. He's probably going to tell me what the gas is over by Lima. Watch, my phone's going to go off here in a second. Just watch. I got to turn the volume down. Everybody yells at me. Mortgage rates. The mortgage rates went up. This is something President Trump is talking about in depth. Jerome Powell is a complete useless loser. Mortgage rates are up over 6 again. We're at 6.125 on the national average, according to Zillow, for a 30-year traditional loan, not an FHA. So they've gone up quite a bit. That's making people mad. Trump is throwing around this 50-year mortgage option. I don't know what I think about that yet. Obviously, if you want a house and the housing prices are too high, that might be something you can do to kind of knock a couple $100 off of your monthly payment, but you're going to end up getting stroked in interest for 20 extra years. So I'm not real sure what I think about that yet. I don't know if I like it. So, but I mean, if you really need a house, it's an option. I think they just need to fix the mortgage rates. That's what they need to do. And that'll kind of adjust everything out. Trump's approval rate, he's at 42.8. So he's still down with the government getting ready to turn back on. I mean, they're getting ready to vote on it now. They got everybody's up talking about it right now. There, see, my dad's right there. $2.89 in Spencerville, Ohio. I always call it Spencer-tucky. No offense, Kentucky, but we Spencerville, we call it Spencer-tucky back home. I love Kentucky. It's my favorite state to cause problems. The Dow Jones, let's see where we're at. They just closed at about 5 o'clock Eastern time. So let's see what the Dow Jones looks like. And we hit a record high today. Congratulations. You're not going to believe what it is. It's 48,254.82. That's nuts. That's insane. 48,000. I didn't think we would hit it until after Christmas, but we might hit 50,000 before Christmas. Holy smokes. Can you believe it's gone up since the tariffs, like 11,000 points. Like that's nuts. It's insane. I love it though. Donald Trump, he should just be he might as well just be the king. I'm all for Donald Trump being king. I mean, the Democrats don't care about the Constitution anymore. No, I like the Constitution too much. Can't have no kings. Democrat Party, they're still at 33.6% approval rating. That's an F in school. It's an F. Even on your new make school easier grading scale, that's still an F. Congressional Democrats are still at 19%. Good job, worthless. So we're going to do some updates from what everyone seems to be calling now New Yorkistan. It's a new country in New York City, New Yorkistan. So if you don't know, Mamdani is asking for more funding. He needs funding for the city that is supposed to fund itself off of rich taxpayers, but he's going to ask for more grassroots money. Makes sense. Good job, socialist. Fantastic. Mamdani has also threatened to take rental properties if they don't comply with the city ordinances. Yeah. Good old socialism. Pretty soon they won't even need a reason to take it. They'll just take it because that's what greedy people do. Mamdani is going to take a hike, or he's going to put a tax hike on white communities. So there you go. Middle-class white people all the way up to upper-class white people. Get ready for your tax hike. So that's enough. That's enough of that. I've been covering socialist stuff for like 3 weeks. So, as we know, they are voting on the shutdown right now. They're talking about Fox News is taking credit for the Dow Jones going up. They're saying, oh, it's because of the interview that we did with President Trump, but they're being sarcastic. Well, the liberals are going to go crazy, because they don't understand what sarcasm is. They're just very literal about everything all the time. But the shutdown. So the government shutdown is still ongoing as of today, But a resolution is imminent. The House is expected to vote today, which they are right now, on a Senate-approved funding bill that would end the shutdown. Yes, it will, and it's going to be. That's what the Dow is responding to. They know that the government shutdown is going to end today, so it's anticipating that because the Dow is very. It's like having a very emotionally unstable wife, and that may sound very misogynist, and you might have to cancel me, but clock it. That's what we do. So legislative process. So the Senate passed a funding bill Monday night in a 60-40 vote to end the shutdown and fund the government through January 30th, 2026. The House vote is scheduled today, happening right now, after the Veterans Day recess that they had. If it's passed, the bill will go to President Trump, who's expected to sign it. Well, hello. We got some Clayton County in the house. Clayco. Why don't you be mayor of Clayton County so we can get it cleaned up over there? We need a good mayor over in Clayco. Well, you guys got a new one, I think. You guys just voted on a new mayor in Clayton County. Okay, so back to the shutdown. We're on day 43 of the shutdown, making it the longest in U.S. history. 775,000 federal workers have missed paychecks due to Chuck Schumer's stupidity. Flight disruptions. So the FAA mandated cuts have led to thousands of cancellations at 40 major airports. And as I'm sure our Clayton County watcher knows, because Hartsfield-Jackson Airport is in Clayton County, and we have seen like I can tell just by going outside. I'm used to seeing like a pulse of airplanes that you can pretty much just stand there. You'll watch one, then another one comes, then another one comes. Like there's always a trail of airplanes that goes right over my house. Lately, I could walk out there right now and I won't see any. So you can definitely tell that there's a lot of flight cancellations. SNAP benefits have been disrupted, affecting over 40 million Americans. The shutdown stemmed from a stalemate over health care subsidies and budget priorities. If you looked at all those, so I think everybody pretty much knows that Obamacare was a giant failure. I think the idea of it, even though it's very socialist, I think the idea of it was decent, but the problem was it got to the point where it became unaffordable. Nobody could afford Obamacare. I remember I considered it at one point when it first came out. I'm like, well, maybe Obamacare is going to be better. Let me look into that. I was like, well, I'm better off in private insurance. It was like $100 a month cheaper. Well, yeah, you're right. Hartsfield-Jackson is the busiest airport in the world. But yes, I do think they're going to vote it through. They're talking about it right now. I need to switch it over to C-SPAN and watch it, but I'm just seeing clips of it right now. So I do think it's going to pass. I think there's enough votes in the House that it's going to certify all that, unless like John Thune added a bunch of earmarks in there that's going to piss off the House, had the House Republicans, but I don't think that happened. It should be pretty clean. So we'll see what happens. So the Senate bill does not include an extension of the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, which Democrats had demanded. It's a disaster. They need to scrap it, and something needs redone. However, the problem is even this is my one dig on Trump when he was campaigning. I didn't think he had a very good answer in the debates to the healthcare question, to how they were going to do that. I think he needs to sit down and really come up with a very comprehensive system that that's going to make everybody happy, or at least 90% of the population happy. You're not going to make everybody happy, but I think with as out of the box thinking as Trump has been in this presidency, I feel like he's going to come up with something here pretty soon. It's a serious issue that many Americans struggle with. There's just not affordable health care out there. I know he did his thing with the prescription drugs and he's making everybody lower the prices. But at the same time, if the health insurance companies aren't doing their end, it's all for nothing. So they got to get that under control for sure. So Kentucky's Rand Paul voted against the funding extension, while Mitch McConnell voted in favor of the extension. Imagine that, Mitch McConnell. You're always voting for Democrat stuff all the time, which that's on you. But I don't know if you looked at your constituency lately, but you guys are like the reddest of red districts I've ever seen. So maybe you should poll your people and find out, which we know you never do. You probably don't even. Mitch McConnell doesn't even know where he's at half the time. I think he's a robot. Everybody's a robot. So the House Rules Committee has advanced the bill, clearing the way to the floor vote today, which is they're doing that. Polymarket odds predict the shutdown will end by Friday, November 14th. So there you go. If you're a gambler, November 14th, get your bets in. That's what they're predicting by Friday. If the House passes the bill without amendments, it will avoid a return to the Senate and further delay, which I don't see that happening. This is going to be over with. So that's where we're at. Now we're in a waiting game. Let's see what happens in the next 24 hours. Hopefully by Friday, we'll have the government back turned on and the lights on and everybody can stop crying. So I'm gonna talk about. So I'm starting to have a bit of a revelation. Like I used to be a 100% Thomas Massie basher. I struggle with him because he's like the ultimate. You ever watch the movie Yes Man? Thomas Massie would be the lead role player in the sequel called No Man, because when you look at his voting record, he votes no on everything, no matter what it is. But lately, like when I take a step back and look at things, some of the stuff Thomas Massie's talking about now are things that I can get behind. So I'm not going to bash him on some of these things that he's talking about. So we're going to go through some of those things. And I know him and President Trump are having this beef right now. It's kind of died down a little bit, but it was pretty heated there for a while. So Representative Thomas Massie, he's Republican from Kentucky. He is currently at the center of two major controversies, one involving a push to release the full Jeffrey Epstein files and another stemming from explosive claims about the January 6th Capitol attack. Yep, you gotta have a naysayer. That's a good point, Kelly. Good point. He is a naysayer for sure. But I'm going to agree with him on this, so we're going to talk about it. I don't know. I was going to use his new wedding or his new like picture of him and his new wife like for my thumbnail, but I decided against it. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be nice and just put a goofy picture of Thomas Massie looking up at the ceiling. Because that's what I do. I found the goofiest picture I could find of Thomas Massie and I put it on there. It's just like what I did with Andy Bashir, where he's like, I can't stand Andy Bashir. Okay, anyway, so the Epstein files discharge petition. So this is something I've covered on this show, and we're going to go over it again, but there's more that we can talk about with it, I should say. So Thomas Massie is leading a bipartisan discharge petition to force a House vote compelling the Department of Justice to release its full file on Jeffrey Epstein. The petition has gained traction amid reports that the DOJ privately admitted the files are even worse for Donald Trump than previously known. Speaker Mike Johnson has resisted swearing in Representative-elect Adelita Grijalva. There's my reading. Grijalva. I'm just going to say it like that. Whose signature would trigger the vote, prompting accusations of procedural obstruction. I got one more sentence. Despite the internal GOP tensions, House Rules Chair Virginia Foxx confirmed Republicans won't block Massie's petition in committee for now. So here's the thing. And we've talked about this on this show before. Under no circumstances will they ever reveal the grand jury evidence. That's never coming out. So everybody who sits here and says we need to see the grand jury evidence, you are never going to see that. It is one of the most protected, sealed things on this planet. You're never going to get it. So to sit here and hound this judge over and over and over again, to give that information, you're barking up the wrong tree. They're never going to give it. And Congress does not have the authority to reveal that. That is a protected event in the Constitution, grand jury. So you can't get it. Now, there are parts of the Epstein investigation that they will be able to reveal. They have not revealed 100% of the available information that the DOJ has. Now, we'll get into that in a second. But one of Thomas Massie's other issues is the January 6th pipe bomb allegations. You're right, Kelly, you're right. We're going to see all this come out in a documentary after everybody's all dead and gone in 30 years, just like we do the JFK stuff now. But Massie recently claimed Capitol Police may have planted the pipe bomb found near the Capitol on January 6, 2021, and accused the FBI and CIA of covering it up. He has demanded accountability and transparency from federal agencies, including the Trump-appointed FBI Director Kash Patel, further fracturing GOP unity on the issue. Now, I'm not going to disagree with Thomas Massie on this. I will give Kash Patel, I like a lot of the work he's doing, but at the same time, there's some stuff that I just need him to clear the air on. And this is one of them. And, same thing with the assassination attempts on Trump, the Charlie Kirk stuff, that there's so much conspiracy going on about all that stuff. The FBI needs to just come out and say, here, stop talking. Here's exactly what happened. And hopefully we will get that someday. It ain't going to be tomorrow, though, I'll tell you that. These claims have drawn sharp criticism from both parties, with some viewing them as an escalation of conspiracy rhetoric, which is true. So Massie's actions have put him at odds with Speaker Mike Johnson and other GOP leaders, which is generally the case. Everybody's always beefing with Thomas Massie because he's a no man. And everybody's like, come on, can you just vote on something that we want? So his alignment he's created an alliance with Marjorie Taylor Greene here in Georgia, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. Now, they want the Epstein information out, and I agree. Let's get it out. Let's get it over with and get it done. And there's no reason to hold this up any longer. I don't care who's on the list anymore. Just throw it out there. The controversies have elevated Massie's national profile, but also intensified scrutiny of his motives and methods. The unreleased Epstein files likely contain grand jury materials. You're not getting them. Which would be full flight logs, financial records, and unredacted witness transcripts, many of which remain sealed due to judicial orders and privacy protections. The grand jury is protected under federal law. It's not coming out. None of these judges are going to let that out, period, flat out. There's full flight logs and visitor records, especially those tied to Epstein's private island and Manhattan home. There's financial ledgers and wire transfers. They may reveal payments to associates or hush money arrangements. There's unredacted contact lists, including names from Epstein's black book and digital devices. There's witness interview transcripts. Some have been released with heavy redactions. Full versions remain sealed. There's surveillance and wiretap data, including recordings of Maxwell's phone and seized electronics. There's evidence from property searches. FBI inventories list is 40 plus devices, 70 plus CDs, and 300 gigs of data. That's where the gold's at right there. I'm telling you, the gold's right there. Screw all this other stuff. The gold's going to be in that data, because I'll guarantee you Epstein kept a lot of information to save his own ass with. So, Judge Richard Berman and Loretta Preska have blocked the release of key documents citing victim privacy and legal protections. There you go. The judges are not going to release that stuff. Everybody needs to get over it. The Department of Justice claims it has released all it can legally, with remaining files under court seal. It's up to the judges. Everybody wants to whine and complain. These guys are barking up the wrong tree. It's what's out there is what's out there. I want it released, but we're not going to get it ever. So congressional committees want transparency, but courts warn of re-traumatizing survivors and violating due process. Very true. We've seen partial flight logs. I've gone through them. It's like 200 pages. There's redacted contact book entries. I've read all those. Just about everybody on the planet that's anybody important is in that book. Photos and emails from civil suits, a 7-page list of masseuses, heavily redacted. I saw that. A 3-page FBI evidence index, including blueprints, massage tables, and unusual items like busts and boots. So that's where we're at with that. Now we're going to go back to there is a suspect in the J6 pipe bomb. Hey, Pike County in the house. I was just talking about you guys before I went live. So the Capitol police officer, that is a suspect. They've run forensic AI systems and have narrowed it down. She's like a 96% likelihood of being the person that is in the video planning the pipe bombs. And here she is, a Capitol police officer who somehow managed to get promoted to the CIA, ironically. Her name is Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff. She's been identified as a potential suspect in a January 6th pipe bomb case, but federal authorities have not confirmed this publicly. So here is what we know. On January 5th, 2021, pipe bombs were placed near the RNC and DNC headquarters in Washington, D.C. The bombs did not detonate, but they triggered evacuations and diverted law enforcement resources during the Capitol riot the next day. The FBI offered a $500,000 reward for information leading to the suspect's identification. Now, what do we know about Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff? So the Blaze News published a report on November 8th, 2025, alleging that Kirchhoff's her gait matched 94 to 98% with the suspect seen in the surveillance footage. Kirchhoff is a former Capitol police officer who reportedly joined the CIA in 2001. When did this happen? So she went to the CIA like right after right after J6. Is the timing, like, does anybody like notice the timing there? Like maybe, oh yeah, you did your job, man. Take a promotion so we can get you out of the Capitol Police and keep you quiet with your nice little cozy CIA job. She still currently works for the CIA, mind you. So she is on dignitary protection teams. I think that's the last place I would want her to be. I don't want her protecting anything. Hopefully she's being suspended or at least put on leave. So the forensic match was based on gait analysis software, comparing her walking style to video footage of the suspect. No official charges or confirmation have been issued by the FBI, DOJ, and CIA. Now, one thing people don't realize is when you work for the federal government, you are mandatory when asked to take a polygraph. 100%, you cannot turn it down. If you turn down a polygraph, you are fired, terminated on the spot. So where are we at? Let's get that done. Let's see what's what. Critics argue the Blaze report relies on unnamed sources and lacks independent verification. Gait analysis, while used in forensics, is not considered conclusive evidence and is typically used as corroborating rather than primary proof. Former FBI agent Kyle Serafine claims his team was pulled off surveillance near Kirchhoff's residence shortly after January 6th, suggesting a possible cover-up. Oh, you're very welcome. So we're going to throw out some support for Alice. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So we're almost to that segment. We're going to talk about it. So Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff, a former U.S. Capitol officer and current CIA employee who has recently been named as an unverified reports of a potential suspect on the January 6th pipe bombing case. Here's what we know about her personally. She joined Capitol Police in 2018, serving for approximately 4.5 years. She worked in security and dignitary protection roles, including assignments during high-profile events. She left the force mid-2021 to join the CIA report protection. So here's more what we know. She was born. There's something to this. She was born in 1993. She attended Olentangy Orange High School in Lewis Center, Ohio. She's been linked to the Columbia Eagles football club as a women's soccer club in Ohio. Now, is it me or does it seem like in the world everything's blamed on Ohio? Like you watch a movie and everybody's from Ohio. And you watch a TV show, everybody's from Ohio. Jeffrey Dahmer, he was originally from Ohio. So we just blame Ohio's the reason for everything. So that's what we know, and that's where we're at. Real quick, we're going to go over Donald Trump is suing the BBC, which ironically is really funny to be referred to as the British Broadcasting Company, as we all know the BBC could also be referred to as, which fits appropriately with the Brits, mind you. So Donald Trump is suing the BBC for $1 billion over claim that it deceptively edited his January 6, 2021 speech in a documentary, making it appear more inflammatory than it was. In the documentary, the BBC aired the documentary is called Trump, A Second Chance in October 2024, just before the U.S. presidential election. The documentary spliced together two parts of Trump's January 6th speech, delivered nearly an hour apart. So they basically edited it, one part of the speech, and an hour later and put it together to make it sound like he was like, we need to get down there and fight like hell and go in there. They doctored it all up. It was crazy. So Trump found it. Trump's team found it. They sued the BBC. Actually, what they made him say was, we're going to walk down to the Capitol and we fight like hell. Trump insisted the original speech was calming, and it was. When you watch the original speech, it's actually very calm. The media completely hacked Trump's speech for all these years. I watched it live, so I know what it said. He said peacefully and patriotically. So Trump's legal team sent a letter demanding a full retraction, a public apology, compensation, and reputational harm. This sounds like is England ran by Randall Weddle? This feels like what Randall Weddle gets sued for over and over again. The lawsuit is being filed in Florida, where defamation laws are more favorable to plaintiffs than the UK. The controversy triggered the resignations of BBC Director General Tim Davie and new CEO Deborah Turnus. So they fired people. They should. BBC Chairman Samir Shah admitted the edit gave the impression of a direct call for violent action and called it an error of judgment. You think? Trump compared the BBC's action to his previous lawsuits against CBS and ABC, which resulted in multi-million-dollar settlements. What a great investment. Just sue the news that lied on you for all these years. Well, these guys must just like giving money to the president, the person they hate the most. They're going to end up funding him for the next 100 years. The case raises questions about press freedom, international jurisdiction, and media accountability, especially involving a foreign public broadcaster. Yeah, get it right. Okay, so now for the main event. Actually, I'm going to cover a Randall Weddle update because some new news came in for London today. Breaking. I might be the first person to report this in the whole United States of America. So as we know, Randall Weddle is being sued in the Hurley suit, the Johnny and Jimmy Phelps case, and the Elijah Jarvis case, along with the Jared Hale case, along with the pizza shop in Corbin, along with blah, 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 blah. There's more. There's new lawsuits. Randall Weddle's being sued some more. And there's still some confusion, so I'm not going to get too crazy with it. But while we're digging it up, so 2 former employees have come forward about the Elijah Jarvis case. So here we go. From my understanding is we're going to be seeing the Randall Weddle All-Star team getting sued, probably including Larry Bryson. And probably, potentially, maybe a former council member. And along with Randall Weddle. But we'll see what happens. Now, when we were looking up, me and some of the people that we look stuff up, we found 4 new lawsuits against the city and Randall Weddle. So I'm going to go through them and the little information that I know. We're going to talk about that. So there's James Austin versus the City of London and all. Don't know much about that one. If anybody knows, please let me know. There's Nikki Lawson versus London Police Department. That's the new one that's up there. I don't know nothing about that one, but if anybody knows, let us know. Now, Richard Jackson. He is a London firefighter. And he is... his daughter is a lesbian. And apparently some firefighters tried to pray the gay out of her. Allegedly, of course. So we'll see where that one goes. I'm going to be paying attention to these. We'll find out what happens. Then another new one. Josh Borman. Huh. Well, that's why we have Kelly in the... That's the Harless lawsuit? Okay, gotcha. Josh Borman, he's a former city police officer. So I'm going to wait and see what happens with that one as well. Now, the main event. We're going to talk about Brandon Bacon Hurley. I am going to give you every piece of information that I know about this case. 100%. And we're going to connect all the dots. So Doug Harless's daughter is Okay. So the Lawson case is part of Doug Harless. Gotcha. Thank you, Kelly. Brandon Bacon Hurley was aged 30 years old. He was fatally shot on April 5th, 2025 in Pike County, Kentucky. The case remains under investigation and has been referred to a grand jury. Here's what we know based upon early reports. The shooting occurred in the parking lot of a business on State Highway 319 for those of you, in the Belfry community, which has a very large amount of violence that happens in that area. I'm mapping it out. A lot of people get killed over on the eastern part of Pike County. My body count now is, for those of you who want to know, is up to 36. And most of those happened in the eastern part of the county, around Belfry and Stopover. According to Kentucky State Police, the incident began as a physical altercation between Hurley and another man, Paul Coleman. You know what? I gotta take this lady's picture down. This is driving me crazy. So let's put up a picture of old Paul Coleman. There he is. There's Paul Coleman. Now, I personally know Paul Coleman. He threatens my life all the time. And this young lady that he's in the picture with, that is his baby mama. That is the woman. Her name is Kelly. She was in the car with Bacon when Bacon was killed by Paul Coleman. So do you see what is happening, where this could all lead to? We're not going to say this is what happened. We're going to say this is where this potentially could have led to. Obviously, this picture is taken after Bacon was killed. And she just had his kid. Kelly just had a kid with Paul Coleman, this old dude. But why? We're going to get into it. Hurley was transported to a local medical center where he was pronounced dead shortly after. KSP has not publicly named a suspect, even though they have, or made any arrest of the latest update. There have been 0 arrests in this case. So we're looking at Paul Coleman shot Bacon. Paul Coleman admits all over the place that he shot and killed Bacon. Kelly, the witness, admits that Paul Coleman killed Bacon. Hang on. There's more. This is a post that Kelly Reed made. And she says, basically, when you read down through that, it's very small. She says that Paul's pathetic and Bacon was murdered by Paul, and Paul's going to go to prison. If you summarize that big long thing. So she's come out and admitted that Paul Coleman murdered Bacon. Now, I'm going to leave that up for a minute for those of you who want to read it, if you can. So what do we know about Bacon himself? I know a lot about him because I talked to his mom, and I talked to his mom a lot. I talked to his dad. I talked to a lot of the Pike County community members who know him. There's Bacon has a lot of support out there. There's a lot of people that get into the comments and get into the DMs, and they just say how much of a good dude he was. And that seems to be the general consensus. I probably would have liked him if I would have met him. But he was born in Pikeville in 1994. Bacon was a construction worker and former miner at Bluestone Resources. He was known for his love of football, hunting, and gaming, and is survived by his parents, his daughters, and extended family. A memorial service was held for him in Phelps, followed by he was cremated as part of his wishes. Now, Bacon was a loving father. Those girls don't have a dad anymore. And that's the most heartbreaking part of it. And then you get, Paul Coleman running around the county, acknowledging, yeah, I killed him. He even called him like, yeah, he's a piece of shit anyway. Oh, yeah, his parents are a piece of shit. He's gone after the parents. And just because they're grieving the loss of their son and they want to see justice. So Paul Coleman has gone and sat out in front of their house, harassed these people. Like I said, he threatens me all the time. He threatened another young lady that was trying to support Alice, which is Bacon's mom. And they went up to try to get an EPO on Paul Coleman. Obviously, he shot and killed someone. Who's more dangerous than that? They should have given her an EPO on the spot. Instead, they said, oh, there's not enough evidence for you to get an EPO. What do you got to do to get an EPO? Like, do you have to get shot to get one? Like I'm very, very confused. And that's the KSP and Rodney Scott's boys in Pike County Sheriff's Office. So when are these guys going to get off their ass and start doing their job? I've mapped out a list of bodies and missing people all throughout their county that they won't address, they won't look at. The KSP is in that area is completely worthless, which I get attacked. I just got attacked by a KSP officer just today. So I'm very excited to bring that to light, to see if I can get them to either say, oh, we're just taking orders, which is what they're always going to say. And then I can go blame Andy Bashir for having a rogue KSP department. That's a whole other story. So what do we know about Paul Coleman? He's 57 years old from Meta, Kentucky, or he lives in Meta, Kentucky. He was involved in physical altercation with Bacon Hurley on April 5th of this year. During the fight, Coleman allegedly shot Hurley in the parking lot of a business. Here's the thing. You know what? I've heard this, so I'm going to repeat it because I've heard this from lots of people, so it must be true. Paul Coleman's always been a big punk that always packs a gun to keep from getting bitch slapped every day. I'll support that. I see how he is. He's all talk. He's a big talker. He likes to talk. I'm not even supposed to be alive still, according to how tough Paul Coleman is. But we'll get into that. So the case has, from what I understand from talking to Alice, is so this is going to be, they're going to try to present this at the grand jury next week. So it's important to get this story out and to plug all the information in, because we want the public to understand what's going on with this case. Because Pike County is very corrupt, and there's a lot of back scratching and grab assing, and that happens in this county. For instance, here's a picture. This bubbly looking gentleman is the judge of Pike County, Robbie Wright. And so let's talk about Robbie Wright and the kind of person that he is. And he's going to get mad at me, and he already doesn't like me, so that's fine. I think you have enough issues, Mr. Wright, that you probably don't need to be ruffling my feathers too much, because I know a lot more I haven't talked about yet. So Judge Robert F. Robbie Wright currently serves as the district court judge for division whatever in Pike County, the 35th Judicial District. He had previously posted a campaign video calling a defendant. Actually, I needed to go back because that's for the next page. Here's what we know about him. So Wright presides over the District Court Division 1, handling misdemeanor criminal cases, traffic violations, small claims, and preliminary felony hearings. His courtroom operates out of the Pike County Judicial Center in Pikeville, Kentucky, and there's a Zoom idea. You can actually watch his court hearings. Yes, Angie, it's all about who you know, and we're about to talk about who all Paul Coleman knows. He knows Robbie Wright. He admits it and brags about it all the time. Paul Coleman thinks he's bulletproof because he is buddies with Robbie Wright. Now, if you hear Kelly tell the story that Paul Coleman is the crack dealer in town. So, why would Robbie Wright be hanging around with crack dealers and drug dealers and stuff? That doesn't make sense. A judge of his prestige excellence would be hanging around drug dealers. So who's lying? Is Kelly lying? Is Paul Coleman lying? Or is Robbie Wright a drug addict? Who knows? We don't know. But here's what we do know. Before becoming a judge, Wright was a criminal defense attorney, notably defending James R. Huffman IV in a high-profile Michael Hogg murder case in Letcher County. He ran for district judge in Pike County following that trial, citing concerns about judicial bias and media influence. He was crying about judicial bias when he is the epiphany of judicial bias in his own county. So it's funny how the tables have turned. Maybe that's how he learned how to do. He's like, well, if people are going to screw me, I'm screwing everybody. So also in December of 2019, Robbie Wright received a public reprimand from the Kentucky Judicial Conduct Commission, which those guys do not play around. I'm telling you, if you guys have problems with Kentucky's judicial process, file a complaint. These guys, I look at, they issue citations all the time. It's the only honest office in the state of Kentucky. But the reprimand involved 2 complaints of misconduct, which Wright resolved by waiving formal proceedings and agreeing to deposition. Yeah. But Judge Robbie Wright of Pike County, Kentucky, received a public reprimand in 2019 for judicial misconduct involving 2 separate cases, one tied to a campaign associate and another involving a former client. So just to help you guys out to fully understand the gravity of this, if you look at the picture on here that I have, you can see that it was posted by a lady named Gypsy Cantrell Ratliff. Now, who's Gypsy Cantrell Ratliff, you might ask? Well, this is where the conflict of interest. She is the person that Robbie Wright was involved in this case with. Wright, it was the Cantrell Ratliff versus Gillespie. Wright held a hearing the same morning the complaint was filed without the defendant being served or present. He ruled in favor of the plaintiff, Gypsy Cantrell Ratliff, who had previously worked on his judicial campaign. So there was a conflict of interest. Robbie Wright refused to acknowledge it, kept proceeding forward, got caught. They filed a complaint. Robbie Wright got commissioned for it. So, right. I mean, there's the proof right there. Like, they're friends. Like, why is Gypsy Cantrell Ratliff taking pictures of Robbie Wright? Why does Robbie Wright look like he's about ready to crap his pants in the picture seeing Gypsy Cantrell Ratliff? Because they're friends. They're all friends. Now, Paul Coleman, friends with, we know is friends with Robbie Wright. Paul Coleman has a very close connection to Gypsy Cantrell Ratliff. So there's a connection there. I believe they're related. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they're related. That Paul Coleman and Gypsy Cantrell Ratliff have some kind of relation. Wright rescinded the order after the defendant filed the counterclaim acknowledging a procedural error. Then there was case number 2, which was the Commonwealth versus Angel Watson. Wright presided over a case involving a former client despite a pending petition for recusal filed with the chief of police. He had previously posted a campaign video calling the defendant a liar and a thief. When you're judge, you can't do that. The Chief Justice later disqualified Wright and assigned a special judge. Rightfully so. It says Judge Robbie Wright, who can't even preside correctly in his own courtroom. The commission found Wright violated multiple sections of the Kentucky Code of Judicial Conduct, including Rule 1.1, which is compliance of the law, Rule 1.2, promoting public confidence in judicial integrity, Rule 2.2 to 2.9, fairness, impartiality, and proper recusal procedures. Wright waived formal proceedings and cooperated with the investigations. The reprimand did not result in removal, but it raised concerns about his bias, his campaign entanglements, and procedural shortcuts. The incident has resurfaced in discussions about judicial transparency and accountability. Even ChatGPT is acknowledging that the work that we are all doing in Pike County, like, it's every time I look stuff up, it's like, hey, the communities is starting to get upset at the politicians. Like, every time I look stuff up, it's coming up now that we're making progress where the AI system is even making note of it. So we're starting to become part of history, which is cool. Now, there's also allegations of Robbie Wright being involved in the Anthony Baker sex trafficking case. He has been, by several witnesses, took part in those events. Again, they're allegations, but eyewitnesses that I have talked to that were there said he was there. Allegations of being high in court when he was an attorney. He's been arrested for DUI, with his cases just magically poofing, disappearing. There's accusations of sex with prostitutes. And then there's the Chad Blackburn case, which we've covered on here, where Robbie Wright, his mom gets killed by Chad Blackburn in a traffic accident. So Robbie Wright is in trying to intimidate the family, having behind the scenes conversations with the judge. We had to push publicly to get Judge Eddie Coleman to recuse himself because there was a conflict of interest, obviously, 2 judges from the same area. But finally, Eddie Coleman did the right thing and recused himself. Then they brought in this new judge who, come to find out, he's got connections to everybody too. So the Chad Blackburn case is probably not going to get a fair shake. We're going to try to keep exposing it and keep it out there. But Robbie Wright, he's got his hands in that. He's trying to stack the deck. Oh, and here's Gypsy Cantrell Ratliff when she tried and failed to become mayor of Elkhorn City Park. Yeah, that's right. I went through your whole entire Facebook page, Gypsy. And here's more evidence of Mrs. Kelly Reed admitting that Paul Coleman murdered Bacon. So what we know from that investigation is that it looks like Bacon was sitting and he stuck his hands up in a defensive wound. From what I understand, from what was told, what Kelly told her friend is that Bacon said, "Please don't. I have daughters." And then Paul shot him through the hand in a defense, and then he turned, and then Paul shot him in the back, is from what we understand. Now, we don't know if that's 100% because we think that Pike County's been doctoring this up. So from what I see from the autopsy, my conclusions, what his family is concluding, some of the officers that I've showed this autopsy for all say the same thing. So this is what we're looking at. And there should be an indictment. Paul Coleman should be getting indicted next week. They've turned over everything to the special prosecutor, and hopefully we get some justice. That's what we're all hoping for. So let's, send prayers out to the Hurley family, to Alice and Greeley, and to Bacon's daughters, and in hopes that we get justice. There's too many dead bodies in Pike County that no one cares about. But we're going to start caring. This is Pike County's moment to fight back and to set things right. So that is all I have for everybody today. Oh, before I go, I'm supposed to thank Jenny Lynn Gleave, my favorite journalist from New York City. She went to Argentina and she sent me a hat from Argentina, from Buenos Aires. So thanks, Jenny Lynn. You're awesome. And you're still my favorite journalist of all time. You're way nicer than I am. I'm the mean one. But I'm out. Peace.